I know you said you work in projects, but working in HR and being around the recruitment process in your company, have you noticed any changes in how people are hired and the factors that can affect employability recently?
And then once they actually started doing studies, they found out that if you look at the best performing employees, it's not always the profiles that you think are going to be very good. So just having a good CV on paper, that's no longer automatically going to get you the job. So what the best employers have started doing is they also don't necessarily want to figure out what it is you've done. They also want to figure out why is it that you made certain decisions, and what would you do if you're faced with certain issues again. So, but when you look at the interview themselves, all the rage right now is to ask open-ended questions. So could you give me an example of a moment where you got stuck and you were only able to get out of it through teamwork? What did you do? Or
how was your experience studying in the Netherlands, and would you recommend it for students who are starting out living alone?
Yeah, definitely. I loved it. But I reckon that studying in the Netherlands is probably, I doubt you're going to find something that's closer to what you have right now being in Basel. So in terms of how international it is. So there's a huge amount of international students studying in the Netherlands. Like, it's only going up and up and up and up. We had like big student buildings full of international students, and we had a really great time together.
I wanted to ask about the course in Erasmus, because I've been looking at it, and obviously it might have changed since you were there, but just how did like each year differ in like what you learned and how like it progressed to like the point where you knew what to do in the future?
So the best way to explain it is that International Business Administration, is a fairly generic course, but then you have the subjects are, for example, marketing or corporate finance or IT strategy or HR. And each of those subjects is presented by the same faculty that also run that master's. So if you have a subject that you really, really enjoy doing, for example, you're really into corporate finance, then you can go ahead and do a master's in corporate finance and have that faculty, if that's what it is you want.
Giving money out, right? So we're a funding organization, and then we partner with partner organizations that do the actual work. So we partner, for example, with the World Wildlife Fund in the biodiversity division. Day to day, depends on where you're at USAID. And I presume this would be true depending on if you worked in a partner organization or not. At USAID, you have technical bureaus, you have the regional bureaus, and you have the missions that are on the ground in the countries. A lot of project development, a lot of monitoring of projects and sort of project management at various phases. It's a lot of developing strategies. So there's a lot of reading, a lot of writing, and a ton of meetings. With volunteer opportunities, I think that you should do what you love. So when you're outside of work and or school and you're volunteering, these are opportunities to really pursue what you're passionate about and try, to meet people and to build community and be in a community.
So in terms of like development, what kind of academic background diversity do you find on the teams that you work on?
Great question. So development is so broad but that said, language skills will get you very far. You all should probably have a very nice leg up on that. You all have lived abroad, and most career or job postings in international development will require that you've had some international experience. Economics, social studies, history, the social sciences are probably going to be very attractive to you and would be a good grounding, political science, that sort of thing. If you're interested in a specific region, that you could really dive into sort of like my undergrad, I really focused on the relationship between Europe and the Middle East. And I guess one final thing I would say that as you go into this next phase of your lives, right? Take care of yourselves. reach back out to your network at the ISB, at your friends. You know that it is going to be a shock. It's going to be there's going to be changes, but people are there for you. You have lots of skills coming out of high school already that will serve you very, very well. And so do not, everybody has imposter syndrome, so nobody should have imposter syndrome. And if you don't know what that is, you can ask your teachers. But it'll all be fine in the end, just one day at a time.
Great.
So I think it's important, especially for a selective school, to figure out what makes that school tick, and that you cover that in your application. Typical examples of things schools are looking for: if a school is really big in like community service or service projects or service learning, then referring to that in your essays. And this is where, like, hey, I did this project when I was in grade 10. I really enjoyed it, and I want to do more of that. That's why I'm interested in fill in the blank college, because you offer those types of things.
How was Pakistan?
How was Pakistan? Yeah, so it was an adjustment for me. But the short answer is my wife and I had an amazing time. If I could go back in a time machine and talk to myself the day I was offered that job to Pakistan, or the day I even saw it, I would tell myself to apply for it faster. Because I think one of the things that I have learned, and actually this is my anthropology training talking here, when you explore a new culture or a new place, if you come to the space wanting to learn more, and assuming you don't know everything, you get a really rich experience. So next question, have I faced any big challenges when it came to finding a career that suits me? If so, how did I overcome them? Yeah, I have no idea what I want to do when I grow up, period. I'm still trying to figure that out. I think if I had a magic wand and I could do anything today, I would probably not be working at a university. I'd probably be working at a tech firm in Berlin, but who knows? I think as you've heard my story, I'm totally comfortable with being flexible and adjusting and adapting. Simon's question, is there something I could redo in my journey? Yeah, I wish someone had told me about the idea of a gap year, and I wish my parents had said that's a thing you can do, and we grant you permission to do it, and we want to help you do it. I think, and that's just me knowing me as my developmental level, I would have benefited so much from a gap year. One of the things that I often talk about is coming up with what I call a board of directors. So this is a group of humans who you respect and you trust their opinions. So this could be your mom, your math teacher, and your best friend. They're your board of directors. This could be your one aunt, whatever. These are 2 or 3 to 5 people or so who you trust, who you go to when you have tough decisions, and you trust their judgment, you trust their opinions, you trust their logic, and you want to listen to what they have to say. And so you say, here's the problem I'm facing. Here are the 3 options that I see. What do you think? And maybe, hopefully, they're going to say, oh, have you thought about this? You really like this. Take a look at option B, because I think that's a really good one for you. And you're like, oh, that makes so much sense.
And the one thing I would say that I would have done better is I would have applied sooner. I mean, there's an English proverb or saying or idiom that is the early bird catches the worm. And that's definitely true, because the way these universities, and not just universities, even applying for jobs, work, it's on something called a rolling basis, where they will do first come first serve. I had learned that firsthand when I had Imperial interview. Like, it was pretty dumb of me. I chose the last interview date, and that's when all the spaces had been taken up, so the competition was like so much higher. Like, if I had done it sooner, then there would have been a much better chance that I got in.
Is there any non-academic activity you did during your time at ISB that you think really helped prepare you for college and college life in general?
What I'm really trying to convey here is, in this sort of presentation, is you really need to work on your personal development skills so you can learn how to be the most effective version of yourself. And the way you do that is by, going into activities that, challenge yourself intellectually, so you have that with your school, socially, by doing things like Model United Nations or choir, physically, like doing sports. Because when you align all those 3 things, I think that's when you as a person experience sort of the most contentment and happiness.
Why do you choose to study electrical engineering, and what job opportunities does it offer?
It was quite simple. I wanted to do something that, you know, was going to be very useful in the future, because, you know, much of the world is still doesn't have a reliable electricity source in developing countries. And then at the same time, I wanted to pursue a degree that allows me to still have, you know, many options, and to have the balance between whatever you're studying and sort of how relevant is it to the world's problems that need to be solved, and then what sort of skills will you develop that will make you someone who's viable in the job market.